everyone, this is Amy Rose.
And I am Princess Sally Acorn, also known as Sally.
And today we will be reading Sally.EXE.
This is basically a sequel to Sonic.EXE, which Sonic read the other day.
This was from the Cult of X, the Sonic.EXE wiki.
Whoever wrote this must have done a pretty good job. I can tell that I'm gonna like this creepypasta.
Me too. So without further ado, let's get started. Do you want to go first, Sally?
Of course, I would love it.
Thank you, Amy. My pleasure.
I'm a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog series. I'm a big fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, like a lot of people. I narrowed down to the classic Sonic the Hedgehog shows though. I narrowed down to the classic Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon shows, though, because I think the rest SEGA has spawned was rat crap, each to their own.
I was browsing on eBay the other day. I wondered if there would be any items about my favorite character from the series, Sally Acorn.
That's me.
Indeed, what I found was a plushie that was manufactured in SEGA World of Sydney, which closed down due to lack of visitors in 2000. Those Sally plushes were very rare, but I didn't have the money to buy her, and my parents would despise me for it. I examined the plushie for a while as the article came with pictures. This Sally even had her jacket. On it was written with the permanent marker, God. I don't really know what it meant. Probably the initials of the child owning her before they sold her.
I clicked the back button to return to the Sonic Sally search, knowing that I wouldn't win the auction anyway, only to find another article had appeared, Sonic 7am cartoon, all episodes, with the price of $1 on instant buy. Sonic 7am DVDs were never released when I came from. Bummer. So as happy as I was, I wanted to rewatch the show and checked out the article. It had no description and no address where it came from. Germany, Canada, etc. It was missing, and the shipping price was stated to be free. I looked up at the photo of the article. It was a blank CD case. I decided to buy it anyway, not just for the nostalgia, but the writing was great and I loved Robotnik in this series.
Well, it all started when the mail arrived. It arrived the next morning, oddly. It was Sunday. I was happy to receive the episodes and immediately put the blank CD into my laptop, starting the DVD. Sadly, the DVD didn't start, but it offered me to show the files, so I opened the folder and saw the Sally.EXE application. I was confused at this, being an EXE, but I started it anyway, and indeed, it was playing a Sonic 7am episode. The episode Hooked on Sonics began. The episode started out normally along with the intro, no blood or anything. But the sad thing was my computer blue screen when the kissing scene of Sonic and Sally started. When Sally walked over to Sonic and kisses his cheek, he calls her kiss not so good and grants her a better one. And it was so cute too. The computer rebooted and I took out the CD as I thought it malfunctioned and threw it away. I could have asked the person to give me my money back, but he can keep the $1 I gave him. I mean, it's just $1.
I continued to normally browse the internet, speak to my friends on Skype and all. Nothing was wrong until when I was watching a random YouTube video, my cursor, a white arrow in case you don't know, started to completely spaz out. I disconnected my mouse, but the cursor continued to thrash around the screen. I even deactivated my touchpad, and it continued. Suddenly, it came to a stop, and I carried on, ignoring what had happened. Soon, I found myself downloading a ROM for Sonic the Hedgehog. Fun game. As soon as it had downloaded, I started up my emulator and begun the game in windowed mode. But oddly enough, the complete screen went black. I shrugged it off and waited for the game to start.
The familiar SEGA jingle didn't sound. Well, it did, but it was slowed down so much it sounded demonic, and it gave me a cringe. The background remained black, and Sonic didn't run past the logo. It faded to black, and some text appeared. I first thought it was a red font, but it looked like it was scratched into my computer screen. Up for round 2, I blinked and flinched as the main screen came on. The sky was dark red, and the clouds looked dull and black, like right before a thunderstorm. The mountains were decayed, and so was the logo. It even looked partially rusted. I was amazed at a pixely detail, but it also scared me. SEGA 1991 was now replaced with SEGA 666, and the water was bloody red. The familiar music didn't play either. It was just a 16-bit mess of sounds. The demonic SEGA occasionally mixed in. Instead of Sonic showing up, 2 characters appeared next to the logo, Tails and Knuckles. The sight of them terrified me even more. Tails' eyes were black, and they were bleeding. His fur had become dull gray black as well, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Knuckles looked far worse. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding like Tails, and he had a look of sadness on his face.
Just then, I noticed a new character pop out in the middle of the logo. A pink, bubbly little hedgehog poked her head out. At first she was smiling, but then frowned at what was around her. She looked confused and nervous, like she didn't know what was going on. Amy Rose, I thought.
That's me!
What is this all about? Curiosity drove me to press enter. A short yet loud static noise sounded, and the screen faded. I wish I hadn't done so. Kyle didn't want to play with me. The writing appeared again. What a shame, but I can play with you, right?
The demonic SEGA jingle sounded again. As for a split second, an image flashed. It disappeared too fast, so I couldn't make it out, but I could swear I saw a red and black Sonic with black and red eyes. I almost felt them pierce me, and that moment made me jump. It didn't begin in Green Hill Zone Act 1, though. I wish it did. Instead, the title card read, Not Perfect, Act 1. The game begun. The ground looked like a normal Green Hill Zone, but the background was pitch black. Amy stood normally where Sonic would be in the original game. Surprisingly, that was a well-made sprite. It wasn't her classic self, but her current self. It looked official even. On the opposing side of the screen, where Amy was at, there was a large silver ring. In front of it stood the sprite of Sonic with a smile on his face. The animation of Amy standing there was that she started forward with a lovey-dovey expressions as hearts came from her head here and there. I guess I should head to Sonic, I thought, as I moved Amy towards Sonic, but Sonic ran away and jumped into the ring. I made Amy leap right after him.
And that's where we will stop with part 1.
Stay tuned for part 2. For Amy Rose
and Sally Acorn,
read Sally.EXE.